Hi, this is Balvinder Singh Powar. It's an honor here to be with you all talking about innovation and the difference and similarity between entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship outside the company and from the inside the company. What we're going to talk about today, especially about the financial sector, is more related about how we can innovate from the inside. Now, what we see in the world we live in, it's very hard to be successful because the difference between success or failure is very small and the market is changing so fast. So what we have to try and think is we have to be intrapreneurs. We have to think like entrepreneurs, but as employees. Because if we don't do that, we could lose our relevance in the market. Now, a lot of people ask me and say, Bal, but innovation is very complicated, it costs a lot of money, but that's not always the case. Innovation for me is very human-led. And if you think about the careers of the future, the ones that will prevail are based on human traits like creativity, emotion, and ethics. So people are the ones who still come up with ideas. So what we have to do inside companies, we have to create a culture where we're willing to try things out, we're willing to think differently, we are empowered, but it isn't just about money. It's about finding the problem statements, thinking about new ways to be relevant, and these could be very small things. It doesn't have to be a change inside the company to affect the main business. It could be something on the side. Now, as examples of that, a wonderful one is the Chupa Chup, the lollipop. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but this is a Spanish innovation, and this disrupted completely the marketplace. Now, how did they do that? Now, a round, hard sweet in the late 50s with the typical sweet you'd give to a kid. Now, what would you worry about as a parent? You'd worry that the child would choke. So this company in Catalonia, Chupa Chup, they said, why don't we put a stick on it? So two things happened. First, the parents would buy it for the kid, their children, because they wouldn't be able to swallow it, so they're safe, they won't choke. All the Chupa Chup sticks are hollow, so even if a child does take it into their mouth, they can still breathe. And secondly, children loved it because it was a novelty. We're talking about 1958. Now, they were so successful, 10 years later, they could hire one of the greatest artists who ever lived, Salvador Dali, to design the logo. So disruption does not have to be expensive. Disruption is about thinking differently. The first thing, we have to allow ourselves to look at the problems in a different way, either with our employees or with people from the outside who can give us a different perspective. Now, we have to think then about the internal motivation, which is very powerful, because most of us, we do a job because we have to do it, but there are other things that drive people towards creating value. So it's letting people contribute, getting their opinion, giving them some autonomy, and also help them to learn something new. So from my side, before you adopt technology, there has to be a cultural side, and this happens in the leadership. The good or bad thing about insurance today, the pain point is there. Our competitors are small startups. You could crowdfund a loan. You could probably crowdfund an insurance policy. Our competitors are not our traditional ones. Maybe less today, your brand doesn't mean so much. It's how you can relate to and be relevant for your client. If we talk about groceries today, Asda would probably say in 5 years' time, their competitor, or even now, is not, another supermarket. It could be Amazon. So things change. Recently, the head of a very big Spanish bank, BBVA, said in 5 years, we see ourselves as a software company. So we have to do something. It could be a small experiment, but there has to be a discussion. Business as usual will not be good enough for us in the near future.